Hello, dear Smiley podcast listeners. It's a pleasure to have you here with us once again. And today we have another sector of business to dig into. And dear women, please listen up this time because we will be talking about email marketing in beauty industry. And we have Adeola Sole with us today. She is an amazing woman who has been working with different beauty brands, but also has experience from other industries. She is an email marketing and CRM strategy consultant. And by the way, Adiola was also one of the speakers in Smiley's Masters of Email Marketing, where she introduced some great techniques and findings about A/B testing. It was really interesting talk. And if you have not seen it yet, then I totally recommend to go and watch it on Smiley YouTube channel. So hello, Adiola. It is a true pleasure to have you here. And can you please tell a bit more about yourself?
Thank you. Oh, it's so nice to be here. And thank you, Vivica, for introducing me. I really enjoyed that. And I actually forgot that I did the Masters of Email, and it was a wonderful bumper event. You know, when you're just doing so many things that I was so nervous about, and I got to hear some amazing speakers as well. So yes, if you haven't had the chance to catch up, you definitely should, because there were so many great insights shared that day. And I was so lucky to be a part of it. So thank you so much for having me again. I'm deeply honored. So yes, my name is Adeola Sole, and I'm a CRM consultant, or I like to think of myself as a strategy consultant as well. I have my own little mini agency called Strategy CRM, and I've worked with some amazing clients such as Eventbrite, which is a current client of mine, the Samsung as well, the Guardian, and I also kind of do some stuff with another agency called Think, and they've got some awesome clients such as British Gymnastics, Pet Plan, and Mensa, all that I've been privileged to do work with and for. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm so excited to talk all things beauty because I am definitely a beauty junkie. If you see my bedroom, my entire table is covered in makeup. So this for me is a dream come true.
I love it. It shows that you are a true expert in your field and you know exactly what you are talking about. So let's start. I am so excited to dig into your knowledge and get to know how you are doing those perfect emails that you are sending out. And as you are working with a lots of different industries, and then how does email marketing in beauty industry differ from other sectors, if it does?
Do you know what? I wouldn't necessarily say that it's different. I think in the beauty industry, they're very much adopting the same strategy as you would any other retailer. I think the main challenge or the main difference is within beauty is you have the brand, but then you also have the multi-brand. So if we take, let's say, L'Oreal or even Charlotte Tilbury, they have their own operational e-commerce website. They have their own stores, but then they have other brands and retailers such as Selfridges, John Lewis, Beauty Bay, Look Fantastic. All of these other resellers or retailers stock their products. So as much as it's growth in terms of their revenue and distribution for Charlotte Tilbury, they still have to try and compete essentially for the same customer. So a customer who loves Charlotte Tilbury may not actually buy it directly from them. They are also competing with all these other multi-branded retailers, which is why I say I don't believe that things in the beauty industry is different. I think they're definitely having to adopt a more multi-channel email marketing focused strategy because they're technically going after the same customer. So all of the same rules apply. And then there are other layers that, are added to it. So whether it's a more prestigious, luxurious brand, so then they're not going to necessarily compete in the same way. But if it's more of a community-based brand, so one that has a direct relationship with their customers, and they're not too concerned, or not necessarily too concerned, but they don't mind having promotional discounts and incentives every now and then to bolster sales. I think there you'll find these brands being able to leverage what they've got in order to remain competitive in this market, because beauty has become such a big and growing industry, especially after or since lockdown. And so now everybody is kind of vying for the same customer. They're all looking for the same customers in the same pot. So they have to more or less adopt similar strategies to those multi-branded retailers.
Well, if I think about my own behavior, then I am not a very loyal beauty consumer. So I just don't consume just one beauty brand products. I might use one brand's mascara, then the other brand's day cream, and then third brand's blush. So I actually mix them up. So I assume I'm not the only one doing that.
Exactly. And I think that's the challenge. I think that would be the main challenge, is that because there are some customers who are loyal to a product because they've seen the benefits in terms of how it may particularly work in their regime, but they may be loyal to the product, but where they find that product is a different story. So I have a vitamin C serum from Omorovitska. I cannot pronounce it, but it's the best vitamin C serum I have ever used in my entire life. But if I buy it directly from the company, it will cost me £110. Whereas when I buy it from, let's say, Look Fantastic or Beauty Bay, it's £60 because there's always an incentive, there's always a discount. I can use my beauty points, my loyalty points. So there are customers who are definitely loyal to the product, but we've become so much more price sensitive. And that's why I say, in terms of email marketing, these legacy brands, or these, one brand, entities have to compete against those multi-branded establishments. And this is where loyalty comes into play, and also adding value. So, brands now can't just think about their email marketing, but it's the entire customer experience as well. Everything ties into it. So it's the packaging, the customer service, the speed of delivery, any other little perks or incentives that a customer can get on the way. So if I would decide to buy directly from Omorovitska, if I know that they give me, I don't know, 20% off every single purchase moving forward, or little nice travel minis within my purchase order, little trinkets that makes the whole experience so much more worthwhile, that then increases my propensity to stay and buy directly with them. So there are competing factors that beauty brands do really need to start paying attention to. That email marketing is one part, but there are so many other factors that play into, winning these customers.
So it is actually possible to gain loyal clients, but it is just difficult to achieve it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Please tell me about segmentation. What are the best examples of segmenting clients in beauty? Are there any special tricks that you use in that field?
Yeah. So you know what? Again, I would definitely say that within beauty is an industry just like any other industry. The only difference is, unlike, let's say, fashion, the product turnaround is slower. So your repeat purchase rate is a little bit longer, but it definitely does exist. And you will have customers that will probably buy from you 2 to 3 times at least, minimum, within a year, because a product's lifespan, if used within an actual regime, should last you maybe 6 to 8 months, and you'll have to replenish and buy again. And depending on how many products within that range that you're using, you are going to be adding more products to your basket. So it's very much the same as any other normal retail industry. The only difference is you're going to have customers who are avid users. So you're going to be able to split between, let's say, your beauty addicts, so people who are buying so much more frequently, versus those who, let's say, only buy during promotional times. And those who kind of chop and change, don't necessarily stick to one particular product, but they seem to like to try lots of different things in terms of your product offering and your ranges. So from there, you're able to build out your customer profile and understand who buys, how often do they buy, and what do they buy. And I think from there, you're able to then build out uh, really meaningful segments. So what you essentially want is you want most of your customer base to essentially mimic those of beauty addicts, right? You want everyone to be addicted to your brand and purchasing as frequently as possible. And this is what I'm saying. It's just like any other retail or e-commerce business where they have their loyal customers and they are always trying to galvanize the rest of their database to act like those loyal customers. But what you have to do is obviously understand and identify those who have the propensity to be that. So if you have customers who, let's say, purchase quite frequently with you, but they purchase lots of different products, there could be a strategy in there to help guide them towards what works best for them. Because what you also don't want to do is have customers who are buying so many different things, not necessarily utilizing and understanding the benefits of each product, and then leaving you behind. So there's a lot of education that has to happen when it comes to the beauty industry. So it's no point just having customers that buy lots of different things. There has to be a methodical approach to how you educate them. So that's what I mean. Yes, the beauty industry has more nuances. And if they care enough to create or cultivate a group of people who become beauty addicts, it requires a lot more work than just segmenting. There has to be educational programs implemented. You have to understand and hopefully kind of essentially get more insights into their skin type or their makeup needs. What is it that they're looking for, so that you can start using your marketing programs to really, you know, move them into the right direction so that you don't lose them because they don't understand what it is that they're buying from you. I think in some of these industries, we, yes, we leave the ownership to the customer because we assume the customer knows what they're doing and what they want, and they know their skin or they know their makeup type. They know what they want to buy. But I think data and segmentation helps you understand and pinpoint those customers who have the propensity to be better but are kind of buying in a chaotic state. And so if we're able to use some form of other forms of data, whether it's using forms to capture more insights, so then we can start creating micro pockets of these people and gearing them into where we need them to be so that we can get more lifetime value from them. So it requires a bit more work, but beauty is such a big, big playing field. And if it's mined correctly, you can have customers that will be with you for years to come. So, yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but essentially, normal segmentation works, but there is a layer of consideration and teaching that has to go into some of those different segments that you are able to identify. So your loyal VIPs, you don't have to worry about them. Maybe incentivize them every now and then so that they stay loyal. But if you have pockets of customers that are erratic buyers, then there needs to be a strategy in there to, one, just kind of direct them into the right place, right? So that they're using the products the right or buying the right things that they need to buy, but you're also able to then build upon that loyalty or that continued purchase. Because what you don't want is for them to buy chaotically to your own detriment, that you lose them as a customer because they find your products ineffective because they don't necessarily know how to use them. So there is this two-way communication that has to happen, that doesn't necessarily have to happen in other industries. And I think this is what makes the beauty industry so much more unique, because the customer is a lot more open to being advised and guided. Whereas in the retail or fashion, let's say fashion space, a person knows their personal style, their own unique identity. So they're just buying products to fit to whatever it is that they want to create. Makeup, skincare, hair care, body care, all of these things needs a consultant, needs a more professional lens to help you get the most out of the product, right? There are always tips, tricks, and hacks on how to utilize and get the most out of that product. But this is where I see brands fall short. There is room for that dialogue, and segmenting the database will allow you to see the pockets of people who you can start having that dialogue with, therefore then creating more loyal customers.
I remember when I was a teenager, I knew nothing about makeup. So, for example, I was buying my first makeup base, and it was a totally wrong shade and consistency for me. So, just had a mask on my face, and it didn't match my overall look at all. Uh, I would have really used some kind of information about how to choose the product and how to choose the correct one for me. And now, being 35 plus, I also need different kinds of products. So, does the age of the client also matter in segmentation?
So you can capture a client's age, and I would say use it more for a treat and delight. Um, and less for what you want is you want the product to dictate the segments, not necessarily a person's age. So I'm going to be 40 in 2 years' time. And if someone,
You do not look a day older than 30, so I
exactly,
actually would have guessed you are younger.
thank you. So, but this is what I mean. So it's use the age to treat and delight and just to understand the matrix of your customers. So, do you have more of an older customer base or a younger customer? Use that as a form of profiling. But in terms of segmenting for skin, let their product buy dictate. And this is where quizzes come into play because usually you don't necessarily treat skin by age, but you treat skin, and I know I'm talking a lot about skin, but because makeup, there is no age, there is no barrier to makeup. Anyone can use makeup, any skin type can use makeup. But I guess when it comes to skincare, it's so much more specific to your cause or your issues or your concerns. So age doesn't necessarily play a big part. It's more about using your any form of quizzes, which you see a lot of brands do, to let your customers tell you what their concerns are, and then you can start segmenting based on their concerns. And once you and this is where I say the dialogue comes into play, because let's say after a year of that customer being on a particular product line with you, you can check in. I think this is one of the beautiful things about being in the beauty industry, is that you can have those conversations. So, hey, how was that pore minimizing treatment going for you? Are you seeing these things being a lot more reduced? Why don't you try now rejuvenating or plumping your skin? So you can actually naturally migrate your customers onto different products. Same with in essence makeup. If someone has tend to use a lot of oil mattifying products and you've created a new formula, you can target these guys and say, hey, you know what, we've created a new formula. It's really bespoke and still, treats your needs, but we also have a moisturizer to help with your moisture balance that will reduce oiliness. We People in these industries are so much more, they're in a better position to help guide those conversations and guide that product journey with the customer. So you should in fact have longevity and high AOV, because you can recommend things that will be best for them. Whereas in fashion, you might say, oh, you bought this dress, why not try this shoe? But actually, I already have a shoe, I don't need it. But skin, we crave extra things. We crave things to make our makeup look even better. We crave things to make our hair look more fantastic. That need, that hunger is there, but no one is playing enough on it?
It is because of those beauty
Exactly.
standards. We women are expected to look beautiful, and we are craving to look like on those all those beauty magazines.
Exactly.
We want to look like that.
Exactly. And so that's where I keep on saying it. I think this is one of those industries that are so unique that they can help drive those conversations and guide people to that product? So segmentation is key.
And obviously, we all try different products to get the perfect look, so that everybody would look at us and say that, hey, you look beautiful.
So if a brand was to market to me for a 40-year-old skin, not that I would be offended, but I don't believe that my skin resembles, yeah.
So you said before that there are clients with different needs that you can use for segmentations for creating those micro pockets that you talked about. Could you please give some examples of how to start doing that?
So I've seen brands do it in different ways. They do it two ways. One, to capture customer data. So they might say, take this quiz and we'll email you your results. And from there, they can have a bespoke onboarding journey based on what that quiz has told them, right? So, which is a nice way of doing it. So you can either front load it on your homepage, but when you do that and you allow them to go through the whole quiz and they go onto your products, et cetera, it's a lot more harder to remarket or have that conversation with them if they're not already opted in, or if they don't end up abandoning, their cart and leaving their email address. So using it as a divisive tactic to gain those opt-ins is a really great way. And then the onboarding series is essentially teaching the customer or your subscriber about their skin type, about the products that you have available, or even about their makeup needs. Estee Lauder have a really lovely color match quiz. So they take you through a different series, whether you are yellow undertone, are you red undertone, is your skin fair, light, dark, olive tanned, all of these different questions. They ask you, what's your skin type like? So are you oily, are you matte, are you T-zones, etc., etc. Then he also asks you about your concerns. Do you want to cover blemishes, or do you want to hide your pores, or do you want to just have glowy skin? So there are all these different things that they ask to help guide you to the right product. But the only difference is that they don't capture your details. So you go through the entire quiz. They give you a list of products that might work or seem similar to what your needs are. And then you have the opportunity to buy samples. But again, at no point until they hit the basket or like the checkout page are they able to capture your details. So I think these quizzes are fantastic, but I would definitely be using them as a way to garner that opt-in, which I think with most beauty brands, they're still really new to e-commerce. So they've learned and understood how to make the e-commerce experience so magnetic and as helpful as possible to ensure that they get as many conversions as possible, which is fantastic. But now the next layer is to get them to think about how to drive those subscriber opt-ins so that they're able to have those repeat purchases. What you have to remember is a lot of these brands are historically brick and mortar, and they've always had an e-commerce platform, but bricks and mortar has been doing a lot of the heavy lifting, or lots of their wholesale retail partnerships have been doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So where now they've transformed the online experience, the next step now, and I'm seeing a lot of brands do it, like MAC, Estee Lauder, Charlotte Tilbury, even smaller brands like not smaller brands, but more unique high-end brands like Augustine Bader and Creme de la Mer. They're now really focusing on how to grow their email list, and using those quizzes is a great way to do that. But it's how you use that information after. You have to start using that as a way to dictate and story tell, but also show the products that are in line with their needs, but also looking at cross-selling as well.
So the main idea is to start the conversation with the clients. So include them in the conversation as well. What do you think do the beauty brands do marketing to drive sales for themselves, or they are also trying to maintain their image and get like their word out there, meaning that you can buy, for example, Estee Lauder products from their website directly, but maybe you can also do it anywhere else. It doesn't matter for the
Yeah,
brand
yeah.
as long as you buy their products.
So this is it. I think beauty, even though I've been saying a lot, the conversation can be driven. Is It's really hard because it's a price sensitive industry, and what you're seeing now is a lot of what would I say? Lots of collaborations are happening. So your marketing has taken a new form. It's not just about the website, it's not just about the email, but social media is playing a really big part in how customers interact and how they engage with your brand. So lots of new platforms such as TikTok, you're seeing brands now gear towards having a presence on TikTok because they understand that, one, in terms of the beauty, makeup, hair industry, you're having a lot of users create their own form of testimonies and guides on these products and where to get them and how to use them. So yes, you're going to have people, migrate to, let's say, these other retailers or multi-branded retailers, which is why you're finding these brands become so much more heavily invested in social marketing, and also creating lots of lively in-store experiences. But they're also collaborating a lot with not just micro influencers, which are influencers that have a smaller following than some of the big ones, but also beauty influencers, beauty makeup artists, normal everyday people, but that just seem to have a very big voice in the market. They're collaborating with these people to show alignment. So yes, it's another tactic or a different way to take away the revenue from these multi-branded stores and bring them directly back to themselves by showing themselves as, one, industry and market leaders, but also those that are a part of social change. They're a part of different communities, which is why I say, segmentation is one bit, e-commerce is another bit, but in terms of beauty, there are so many different players in the field. There are so many different ways in which you can activate loyal customers, but it does require spending more. And I think some of these tactics or some of these different social channels makes it harder to measure the uplift in revenue. It's harder to direct it from, if we do this TikTok activation or if we do this activation with this makeup artist, how do we know that the sales have correlated directly to this piece of activation? You can use discount codes, you can do, whatever you like. But again, it's so much more harder to tie down. But that's not necessarily what it's also about. It's about making sure that the brand name stays front and center, that you come to us rather than going to Selfridges or, Phoenix or, Harrods. It's to ensure that they take the lion's share of the revenue.
Having influencers say things about your brand also sounds much more convincing, I assume, because if a brand says something about themselves, it actually sounds like marketing. It doesn't seem real. But if somebody else or an influencer says something, then it
Yeah,
sounds much more authentic.
exactly. A lot more honest. And even then, you have to make sure that you choose the right person to work with, because you will have influencers that are everyone is being paid, but you have some influencers that are a lot more truthful about their experiences versus those who are just happy to be paid. And your customers and consumers are having a lot more discernment when it comes to who you're working with and how honest that information is. So, it's another complexity, another layer that's added. You have to be able to trust the person that you're working with in order to convey the right message to the masses, for it to come across as authentic and genuine. But again, it's behind the heart of all of this. I think doing all of these different social activations to ensure you get the revenue is fantastic. But at the heart of everything, there should be a strategy or an objective to capture those email addresses, not just the sale, because you can get the sale and then be forgotten. You need to have a strategy where you're capturing those customer details and you're able to be in a position to remarket to them time and time and time again. And this is where I find a lot of activities or activations fall short, because they're thinking only about the activation from a social perspective and then the sales that are correlated to it, and not necessarily about the acquisition in terms of the number of new leads or the number of new subscribers, because that's what's going to help them grow in 6 to 12 months, right? So
So the key is to use all sorts of different marketing and activities together to tie them together into one huge marketing, because they all play their own role there. And email marketing should not be forgotten. Am I correct?
I definitely agree. I think absolutely correct. It's important to gain that subscriber base, because like social digital marketing is fantastic, but the costs are so high. The CPCs or the CPAs are so high. And so, but when you are requiring or attaining your own customer list, one, the cost for email or the cost to send an email is so much more lower, and the value of the customer is higher because you're able to send so many other tactical strategic campaigns to get them to purchase again or to cross sell them onto another product. Or if you end up launching a sub diffusion brand, you already have a pocket of people that you can start communicating to help them move along or to give them visibility to this other brand. So it has a longer term benefit when you start looking at growing your list versus just making those quick win sales. So I agree with you 100%.
Now, if we are talking about email marketing, then what are the most important metrics that you follow? Open rate is becoming less and less important, yet we all want to see the sales. Like, is there anything else that you actually follow, or what are the metrics that you keep an eye on?
Yeah. So you know what? I wouldn't say don't focus on the sales because the sales are definitely important. We all need to make money. But for me, I would definitely be looking at it would I would be looking at the growth of the base. So month on month, one of the main metrics would be the list growth percentage. Is it growing in line with the business or is it stagnant? And I find that a lot of brands don't pay attention to the subscriber base and its growth because its growth will help you grow in the future. So that's one main thing. But then also the normal stuff, which is, clicks. But when we start looking more about the website, because it's not necessarily the email metrics that you have to worry about, because everyone looks at opens, everyone looks at clicks, everyone looks at conversions. That's all great. We all know to look at that. What email marketers really need to start looking at is those web conversions, those web metrics. So what's the bounce rate like on some of your product pages? What's the stickiness like in terms of if you're looking at if you also have an app, what's the stickiness like in your apps? What's your conversion rates like when you're sending out an email? What's the conversion rate like on your web versus your app if you have an app? Also, how many users have downloaded the app as a result of any promotions that you've done within your email marketing? So email metrics, we all cover them, we all know them, and I think we need to start looking beyond the email because the email is just your first point of contact. It's essentially it's like the postman coming to your door. We're just delivering a message, but then you need to then take the next steps. We need the customer or the subscriber to take the next steps. And that all happens whether it all happens on your website or within your app. So those conversions and those metrics matter the most. The number of sessions, the dwell time. So how long have they spent? The number of pages viewed. So if you've taken them to one product, do you have product recommendations on there as well? So is it taking them to other areas of the site? Also, how many baskets have been abandoned? All of these web metrics play a big part into your email strategy because you'll then know, okay, we've really been pushing this product or this item or this category, and we always see a high number of bounces. So you know what, we're not going to promote that anymore, or we're going to put that further down and leverage something else. So your web metrics will allow you to dictate or understand what you need to be putting within your email in order to get to the end goal, which is essentially conversions. Everything works together. Email doesn't work on its own. On its own, it's redundant. It needs a viable and really highly engaged and well thought out website or app in order for it to meet its end goal, which is to convert and generate money.
Yeah, I think that looking at website analytics and combining it with emails is actually a great idea, and everybody should do that.
Yeah.
We were talking about getting feedback from your customers before. Do you have some good ideas about how a brand could use customer reviews in emails as well?
I don't have examples to show, but like I said, I'm a beauty addict or skincare addict, or all of the addicts that have, anything to do with makeup, beauty, I'm here. Um, Paula's Choice. Paula's Choice is a brand that uses social proofing a lot. So product reviews or customer reviews a lot within their emails, especially when they're focusing on a hero product. I think it helps to one, it helps with the decision purchase. It helps the customer or the subscriber understand the value of this product to other unique users, but also displaying those reviews. And I would say, like, brands do this already. Reviews play a huge part. Social proofing plays a huge part in someone deciding to commit to a purchase or not. So it's definitely worth having, especially for more luxury brands. If there is a new customer, someone who's never purchased from you directly before, and they've been tentative, you can tell that they engage with your emails, they click on your campaigns, they visit your website, but they yet to convert. One, that's where I said the dialogue comes into play. But sometimes the dialogue does need to come from other users. So if you're able to pull out extracts of customers who have had such great, a great time with your product or with your service, leverage that, because that could be the deciding point. That could be the difference between somebody abandoning and just deciding not to come back versus taking the plunge and having taken that next step and buying your product. So social proofing, customer reviews are incredibly useful. They shouldn't be used all the time. um they should be used when tact gracefully and with tact. I think if you flood everything with customer reviews, then it then devalues in a weird way. It kind of takes away from the brand's voice. You don't want your customer's voice to overpower the brand's tone of voice. So it should be used when it comes to specific product mentions. It can be used in abandoned basket programs, so that it's another way to nudge and encourage customers that, hey, this is a 5-star reviewed item. You don't want to miss out. That's a really nice way to encourage people. And also, if you're trying to cross sell them from one product to another, that's another way to use social proofing as a great way to say that this is a highly rated or a highly viewed program product. So it's worth having in your arsenal of items that you use on your day-to-day basis. So it's a fantastic thing to do, but it should be used in certain stages along the customer journey. It shouldn't be used all the time. And depending on the brand's guidelines, it can be used and should be used on the website, but that is for the brand to decide on how that's displayed, how easily, how accessible it is, because some people make it harder to find the customer reviews and some people plaster it all over their website. It just depends on the brand's branding itself. It's more personal, but in emails, within your lifecycle programs, within your automations, yes, leverage it if you can, for sure.
Yes, I agree. Using customer testimonials is a very good tactic and it should actually be used. Now, here, I'm living here in Estonia. It's a kind of a small country, and people don't actually want to give testimonials that easily because maybe some of them are afraid that somebody that they know will see their testimonial and they don't want that. Or maybe we are just too shy. So can you give us just some good advice how to get recommendations or feedback from the customers?
Do you know what? That's so interesting. I didn't know that. And this is another thing that I think with brands, they have to understand the market, that in some markets they will be more open to providing testimonials, whereas in others they aren't, which is so interesting. I would say that you find a lot of in this day and age, people, in order to get something done, you need to receive something in return. And that's just kind of like that value exchange now. So, what will I get in return for providing you with a review? And I think this is where the motivations come into play. So, you'll find that a lot of brands or retailers are maximizing on incentivizing their customers to provide a review, whether that's money off of their next purchase, or whether or not it's kind of being bumped up into a different version of a loyalty program. You'll see people say, oh, if you leave us 3 reviews in the space of 3 months, you will now be moved into our gold tier. So they use what they have at their disposal to leverage, you know, getting those customer reviews. I was going to say something else, and now it's like flipped my mind in terms of gaining those reviews because they are incentivized. And it was so good what I had to say. And now it's gone. Oh, I'm so.
Don't worry, it will come back. Don't worry about it. Just give it a few seconds. Another thing about giving feedback, I guess, is asking it at the right time. For example, if I buy a dress online, then usually the feedback questionnaire arrives into my mailbox straight after I have received the product. I just take it out of the box, try it on, and I can already give some feedback. But I was just making an automation, a feedback automation for one of our clients who is producing health products. And for them, we ask the testimonial 6 to 8 weeks after the product has been delivered because with health products, with vitamins, you need to use them before you can see any effect.
Yes. And it's come back. Yes, it is normal to do. But I think asking for feedback, especially in the beauty industry, I think you hit the nail on the head without even realizing, because you said 2 months later, which is absolutely right. You want to wait 4 to 8 weeks before you ask for a review. When it comes to makeup, maybe you can ask for a review within the first week or two. When it comes to actual skincare products, wait a bit longer because people need to have time to see the effects and the results of the product actually shine through. And I think that's some of the mistakes that people make is they don't think about the use of the product versus when to ask for their review on how that product has been. So that's one thing. But then another thing that I've seen a lot of people do is giving customers the choice to remain anonymous. And actually, that's something that can be utilized within Estonia and calling that out. That you can either have an alias name, so you can come up with your own kind of avatar name, or you can just remain anonymous and provide your experience as a ghost user. And it will still be verified, it will still be vetted and accepted, but it will be anonymous. And I think this is a nice way of kind of calling that out. So it helps people protect their privacy, protects their identity, and makes them feel so much more comfortable in providing those feedback loops, to the brands, but also if they're able to incentivize it a little bit as well. So if your review is the most rated, because other people can rate your reviews in terms of how useful they found it, it encourages people to create more compelling, more thoughtful reviews as well, rather than it was good. So if you provide an incentive to create a more dialogue based review, that if they do that and it's more highly rated, then they get, let's say, 50% off their next purchase, or I mean, which is a bit big, but you know what I mean. It's incentivized. Then those are other ways to actually get the most out of, asking for a review. Also, people sometimes find leaving reviews a bit tedious. So having it essentially done within the email. So if someone clicks on the star rating and they click 5, once they land on the landing page, the 5 is already filled out. Then they can just write a little sentence and press submit. So you're taking away the not that leaving a review is complex at all, but you're just taking away those myths and those barriers to it being time consuming or having to fill out quite a few things or different steps. If we're able to make it as easy as possible from the get-go, then those opt-in rates in terms of providing that information should hopefully go up. But it also has to be called out. You can't make the process simple and then not tell them that the process is really simple. So, that's another thing that needs to be considered.
How do you ask for feedback? Do you send them an email with some helpful questions, for example, like how did your skin feel before starting to use the product, and how did the product make you feel when you were putting it on your face? Or have you noticed any changes after using the product?
I would say that it's better placed somewhere else. So I think it's a good idea But that information is probably not going to help drive those sales. But what it is going to do is give the business more insights. So let's say you purchase the same thing again. So we know you've enjoyed the product. Um, we can send you a survey for your feedback and ask you so much more specific questions in regards to your experience with it. How did you feel? How did it make your makeup or skin or whatever? How did it enhance or did it not enhance those things? And that can be used in other forms of marketing. So that can be used as a form of social proofing. So 98% of our customers said that they had a positive experience with this product. So it's a good way to collect it, but I think in terms of using it as a reviews, not might not be the best place strategically, but to get it from customers who have used the product, or if someone has complained about a product, sending them that survey or that quiz to understand what the issues were, so that your team can then enhance what they're doing. But then for those who've had a positive experience, and you've got a certain amount of people who have had a collective shared experience, that can be used as a form of marketing.
Those were some really useful tips about how to get feedback and how to use it in the whole process of marketing, not just email marketing. Now, in the Masters of Email Marketing, you told a few exciting examples of how to do A/B testing. And who didn't see it, I actually do recommend to go back to to Smiley YouTube channel, because you will find Adeola's speech there. And then rewatch it. But my question is actually, how do you do A/B testing, and what do you measure while you are doing A/B testing?
So, good question. So when the examples that I provided last time were for a client, and I don't work there anymore, so it was candidates, and they were doing an A/B testing with their Band and Browse program. But now I'm working with a brand called Eventbrite, and they are, although it's a completely different industry, we are doing quite a few tests, but now the tests are not necessarily weekly anymore. So what we do is we now look at testing, and actually this was coined by I don't know if it was coined by her, but she talks a lot about it, Kath Pay, um, looking at motivations. So now we look at the things that drive people to do a desired action that we want them to take versus the opposite. And so everything now is geared around those motivations. So instead of having multiple tests going on every day or every week, but then you're not able to actually gain or get that many insights. They're all small insights that don't make long-term differences. Because what you have to remember is all of these different tests, like, oh, should we have our subject line that says the offer, or should we have an emoji of a lipstick, or should we have personalized subject line? All of those things are arbitrary. They'll be great today, and then in 3 months' time, your subscriber base may have changed. The environment may have changed. Social settings may have changed. Things change. Whereas if you're testing those motivations in terms of those high value actions, um, how many people will add this product to their basket, or how many people will convert, or how many people will buy into this new product, when you're looking at those motivations, those are more long-term values. Those are high value actions, things that are going to be a constant, rather than adjusting the subject line. So that's how we look at things now. We look at those high value actions and those motivations to do those desired actions. And so that test could run once, multiple times. So we'll be running this high value action test over the series of a month, so that we're able to gain as many insights as possible, and we tweak it as we go along. So we're still staying with the same motivation, but every, maybe let's say 2 weeks, we review and look at things, and then we optimize it, and we're still gearing towards that same motivation, that same high value action, but we're adjusting it as we go along. So then we're able to have a lot more long lead insights that we can actually share with other departments as well, so other marketing teams, so we can confidently say, look, we've been testing the motivations in terms of new product adoption, and these are all the different tactics that we've done to see how people take on new product adoptions. Perhaps you can use that same method in your digital marketing, or you can use that same type of wording on the homepage, or we can have a banner in the app. So there are so many different ways in which testing like this can not only help the email marketer, but it can help other business units. So that's what we're doing at the moment. And it's proving really fruitful, especially for Eventbrite, where we're looking at different motivations, different high value actions, and we're able to start to rule things out now, which is great. So where one team, like the sales team, had an idea that perhaps customers or subscribers or leads behaved in a specific way, we have the data to say, actually, this is not what motivates them. But when we present them with this, or when we talk about things that are a lot more, let's say, action orientated, we seem to get a better response from them. So I think you should change your LinkedIn or your social ad posts to reflect more action based tactics or action based content rather than educational based. So that's where we're at now, and it's a great way of testing. And I think in the beauty space there is room to start having a more robust test to look at customers motivations rather than just how can we change the email, because the email is just one part. It's the subscriber you're trying to influence, not necessarily the email.
That is a good point, because I do agree. We don't want to see changes just in the email, but we actually want to see behavioral change in customers, because this is what actually will drive the sales and make the brand more and more popular. Okay, well, our time is running up, so I have one last question for you. As you have a lot of experience in email marketing, then what are those three most important things in email marketing that everybody should be doing?
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, do you know what? It's a good question. Three things. I would definitely say test, but test for motivations. Don't just test, like we just said earlier, things in the subject line or adding personalization. Those are all things that you should be doing in terms of like it's second nature. Start thinking longer term down the funnel. Start thinking about what drives your customers to make those purchases, what drives a new subscriber to become a loyal subscriber, and what keeps a loyal subscriber or a loyal customer a repeat loyal customer, and how can we then start mimicking those behaviors in other segmentation groups. So start testing those motivations to becoming your desired customer and adopting products in a particular within a particular category rather than just changing the layout of the email. So that's one thing I definitely think people should be doing, thinking long term with their strategy. But then also, when it comes to, if we're just talking beauty, I think having that dialogue and that conversation, I think this is another thing that needs to happen more to help reinforce the relationship with your customers and or subscribers. Don't shy away from having that dialogue. Don't just let your emails be product and sales focused only, as we're moving into a new wave of social interactions. You're finding that authenticity and community is playing a very big part in people's decisions of whether or not they choose to buy with you or buy from someone else. So leverage the opportunity that you're in a position of authority here, and that they are willing to hear you speak. This is one of the unique things in this industry, that your customers will actually thank you for spending the time to cultivate that relationship and having those different touch points and communications. And that will definitely help with your LTV, will also help with AOV, as well as your actual revenue numbers. If you're able to tell a customer that, hey, this brand or this product works really really well with this product, they're going to add it to their basket. So I think utilizing your power as an authority in your space, you've created the product, utilize that. And then also, don't be afraid to start looping in with other departments. I don't think email should be seen as a siloed entity. And I would say that lots of consultants and marketeers have said this time and time again, but whether or not it's done is another thing. Email marketing is a fantastic, or email is a fantastic channel, but it can do so much more when it's leveraged with other channels. So don't just see it as its own siloed. I know everyone has their own tech, their own revenues, their own KPIs, I should say, but really and truly, you should be thinking so much more strategically and thinking that, you know what, the digital team and the e-commerce team and the app team, they can help me get to my target a lot more quicker if I involve them. They don't need to know. But you can leverage their platforms to help make yours even better. So start thinking really multi-channel. Attribution can be done, secondary, but utilize them to get the traction, to get those conversions, utilize those metrics to understand what you need to do to optimize your end of things so that, towards the later stage of the funnel, you're reaping the rewards of those conversions. So I would definitely say be so much more collaborative, because when people are interacting with your brand, or when they're interacting with the email, they don't see the email as this individual department. They see the email as the voice of the brand, just like they see the website as the voice of the brand. They don't see the website as one entity, the app as another entity, and the email as another entity, the text as another entity. It's one brand in their eyes. So behave as one brand and utilize all of those different channels to help upscale yours. So those would be my three things.
Thank you. I could not agree more with those things, and I don't think I could have said it any better myself. Thank you, Adeola. So, usually at the end of the podcast, I try to bring out a few things that I personally learned while I was talking to you. And besides bringing up those three really important things that you already mentioned a few seconds ago, then I would also bring out two additional things. First of the things that I learned from you is that you need to educate your client, so that you have to tell them stories, you have to bring them examples of how to do things, and you have to be there to hold their hand, because there is nobody else better on the market to teach the client the things that you know about your product. Only you can do it, and you should be doing that. And the second thing that you mentioned was that I think that is something that nobody else has ever mentioned in any of the podcasts before. And this is that you should measure the growth of your list as one of the metrics. And totally agree with that, because this is a really important and crucial metric, and it does say a lot about the health of your email marketing, and it will say like how much volume and how much sales you can do in the future, because you have your client base and you can do do upselling for those clients as well. So thank you very much for all those tips, not trips, and incredibly good content. And you did actually inspire me to go and redo my makeup, because it's very well seen that you know exactly what you are doing. You are very good at beauty and marketing, and I totally envy you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But you don't have to do anything. I already told you you look like Nicole Kidman. So, you know, you're already winning. You look like a movie star without even trying.
Oh, thank you for the kind words. It was a true pleasure to have you with us, Adiola. And thank you for all the listeners who
Thank
were with
you.
us today as well. I hope you learned as much as I did. And we will see you again in the next podcast with another industry expert and with their insights. So thank you, and bye bye.